Hey, so free will debunked. That's what we're doing here today. We're debunking free will. So, uh, it's hard for me to really empathize with the belief in free will because I never personally believed in free will at any point. Whenever I was a child, it was still obvious to me what I'm about to say. And so I never believed in free will. So, first, I will explain the logic that I used as a child to come to the conclusion that there is no free will. And that logic really could be the end of the story. And it's this: we have the appearance or the illusion of choice as governed by our preferences. And so, for example, it may seem like you decided to choose chocolate over vanilla ice cream whenever you were presented with that choice. But the thing that you didn't choose is what your preference was for. You may have chosen chocolate because you like chocolate more than vanilla, but you didn't choose that your preference was naturally that you prefer chocolate over vanilla, right? And so we make these choices based on preferences that are predetermined. Have you ever experienced the feeling of wishing you liked the song that all your friends like, or something like that, or the TV show? You know, it's like all your friends are into this one band and they just can't stop talking about how good they are, and you just don't get it. When you listen, it doesn't make you feel any type of way, and you really want to like it, but you don't. So just like that, our preferences determine what we like and what we dislike, and what we like more or less. And we don't get to choose our preferences. It really is as simple as that. We have the illusion of these choices that we make, but all of our choices are based in preferences that are predetermined. And as a child, I saw this very clearly. I saw that, it was not up to me that bacon was my favorite food as a child. It was just the one that tasted the best, right? These preferences were obviously not things that I chose. And so all choices are this way. All things are this way. And that's really the end of the argument. Free will, debunked, right there. There's really no counterpoint to that. If you've got one, give it a shot. But I haven't heard one this far. So I can keep expanding, though. Since we're here, I can keep on expanding a little bit. So, free will and separation are two key beliefs of the ego. Really, they are the same belief. And when you investigate separation, free will cannot make sense either. And so really these two beliefs, or this one belief, is central to the ego's thought system, the belief in separation. If you believe that there is separation between things, then you believe that you are an independent actor. You are something completely autonomous, unaffected, acting independently. But when you see that separation is only conceptual in nature, that the fundamental substrate of reality is one energy, you could call it, and that we create a conceptual matrix by labeling things, and that all of conceptualization or ideas only exist abstractly as we have created them. You know, whenever you name something, you label something, you imagine that that thing is a separate, unique thing. But the truth is that all of these are imagined. Um, there is no thing separate from another thing. This only exists in our minds, in conceptualization. There is no separation in reality, only in conceptualization of reality. And so, you know, you can question what the nature of conceptualization is, further, if you would find that helpful. You know, easy one. Let's say you've got a wooden chair. What do you have really? Do you have a chair, or do you have wood? Right? Well, if the wood is arranged into a certain way, then you call it a chair. Well, what's the chair made of? It's made of wood. If you arrange the wood in a certain way, it's no longer a chair. It is just wood. What is the wood? Is the chair actually real then? Not really. The chair is just an idea. What was real is the wood. But, you know, of course, it actually goes deeper than that. The wood isn't real. The wood's made of carbon. The carbon isn't real either. It's made of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and those aren't real either. Science now claims that all of those are created by the Higgs boson, supposedly the fundamental particle. And so that, you know, according to science materialists, the fundamental substrate of reality, let's say, is the Higgs boson. So all things are made of little Higgs bosons put together. Now, the truth about what the fundamental substrate of reality actually is that it's not going to be anything that you can label or describe as a separate object, because this is an abstraction and conceptualization, as I mentioned earlier. And so the easiest way for us to approximate what the fundamental substrate of reality is with our term of energy. Energy is the stuff that inhabits physical matter, that determines the properties of the physical matter. If you have enough energy into, you know, these very small particles, then they assemble and create new particles. You have enough energy in, you know, the nucleus of an atom, then it attracts electrons to make it, you know, a different isotope or different charge. That's what I mean. You know, it may attract more neutrons to be a different isotope. It may attract, the particle may attract more protons to become a different element, and then the elements attract each other to make a chemical, and the chemicals attract each other to make a body, and then we exist. You know, so the fundamental substrate of reality you can think of as energy is, you know, from the material scientific lens. And then matter is essentially the conceptual illusion that we've created to, you know, in our minds to observe and understand and interact in the world of energy. We can only interact with true reality through abstraction of true reality. Now, this is very paradoxical. We can only understand reality by understanding what it is not. If there was only light with no darkness, you would not have an experience. You would not have anything for the light to reflect or refract off of, so there would be no visual experience. It would only be white, completely white in all directions. But we have darkness, so we have the opposite of light, the absence of light, and we can only understand what light is by experiencing the opposite of light. So similarly, we can only understand what what the fundamental substrate of reality is, energy, by understanding the forms or the illusions that it takes, being this material, physical matter. And so then this births conceptualization and the belief in separation as a result of conceptualization and needing to understand and have an experience. So then eventually we reach the point where we understand metaphysics and we see, from a very zoomed out perspective, how all of this is taking place. And we see the nature of conceptualization being abstract, and that it is not existentially real or true. Concepts are not existentially real or true because there is no real separation. There is no permanence to any concept. That is why they are illusions. The chair does not have permanence because the chair, eventually, as the energy goes through its process of change, which is what it's always doing, then eventually the chair is no longer a chair anymore. Eventually it's a pile of wood, and eventually that pile of wood is no longer a pile of wood. It's just split up into carbon and nitrogen and other elements, and then so what's real is what's fundamental. That would be energy. And whenever you see that this, to tie it back to free will, whenever you see that this nature of reality, of what is real and what is not real, is everything we know, oddly enough, is what is unreal, and everything that we do not know is what is real, is energy, and what we know is concepts. And so this this polarity, this contrast is easier to see when you just see many examples of it repeated. That's why I'm repeating a lot of examples here. But with this belief in separation, conceptual separation, we get all of these other false beliefs that depend on that belief, one of those being free will. So because we believe in this illusion of separation, we believe that it's equally real, and the truth is that it's not fundamental. The separation is not fundamental. Then we believe that we are separate beings and therefore act independently of all other actions and all other things. Whereas the truth is that there's no independent actor. There's only one action. That one action is all of reality, because it is only one. I mean, you can call it a thing, but that's still not accurate. And it's still not accurate to say that reality is one, because one implies that there must be two. And so reality actually is not one, and it's not two. So, again, what we try to describe, or what we can describe, is not real. And what we can't describe is what is real. But yes, when you believe in separation, you believe you are independent, that something acts independently, and that independent action is you, and that your will is free. But when held up to scrutiny, this doesn't make any sense. It was an assumption founded without evidence. There is no independence. There is no separate actors in the universe. There's only one actor, and there's only one action, and the actor and the action are the same, right? So really, there's no actor. There's no action. And so these paradoxes may be a bit overwhelming. They may be a bit confusing. I would say first to acknowledge that paradox is not a bug of reality. Paradox is a feature of reality. I think it was Einstein that said that, a genius, the mark of a genius, is how many paradoxes one can maintain in their awareness and understanding simultaneously. Paradox is not a problem. Paradox, if you are reaching a paradox, then you are on the right track. You should be happy about that. You know, it feels like maybe you still feel overwhelmed, like, oh, this is breaking my brain a little bit. Well, good, because breaking your brain a little bit is how we go deeper beyond the mind, deeper in truth, deeper in our awareness, deeper in our real intelligence, not our computational intelligence, deeper in our ability to perceive sensations accurately. And so I will now go on to those of you who've made it this far and expand even more. So yes, free will does not exist. And it's important to say that. But if you want the full truth, the ultimate truth, I can't stop there. The full truth is that free will does exist. Okay? And so this is why I said if you are reaching a paradox, you are on the right track. So we can understand how free will does and does not exist by trying to understand the relative and ultimate perspectives. So the relative perspective is the perspective that we have right now, this illusion of being a separate being, a human. And the ultimate perspective would be the perspective of God, or the full understanding of the metaphysical happenings at play. And so from the relative perspective, it seems as if we have free will. It appears that way, at least. I feel like I get to decide when I move my hand from here to here. It seems like I'm choosing to do that. Sure. But that, as we have just discussed, is an illusion. However, free will is not an illusion from the ultimate perspective, because, as I said, there is truly only one actor and one action, and the actor and the action are the same. And so that actor, that action, the one actor / action is the free will. So all of this reality was chosen freely, predetermined freely. In fact, it was predetermined that during the experience we would not know exactly how it was predetermined to be. So every aspect of this reality is both created by free will, the free will of God, and having no free will whatsoever. So God, having ultimate free will, created reality exactly the way it is, intentionally and intelligently, and then God placed itself into my shoes and your shoes in these limited perspectives to experience this illusion of free will, to then realize that illusion, that the way we perceive free will is an illusion, but then ultimately our true nature is free will and is the one actor / action. And so yes, it is equally true to say there is free will and there is not free will, but we just need to be specific with which plane are we speaking from when we say that. From the ultimate plane, there is free will. From the relative plane, there is no free will. So then, why do I call this video Free Will Debunked? If they're both equally false and equally true, just depending on which perspective you're looking from. So the reason I call this Free Will Debunked is because, being that we are experiencing this limited perspective experience, our predisposition is to believe in separation and personal doership and independent action and free will. That is our predisposition, right? So that's why most people believe in that. And so truly the most harmonious way to proceed is through having an equal balance of both beliefs, the paradox, in our awareness at once. So if we can maintain in our awareness that we are both God and human, experiencing both not free will and ultimate free will, if we can hold those two in a balanced energy allotted to each belief equivalently in our awareness, then we will have found the middle way. And that will be the most efficient, effective way to proceed. And of course, the whole point of our experience is that we're not there yet. And the whole point is to have this journey of not being there to getting there, right? Because if we were already there, then we wouldn't have the journey anymore. The journey would be over. So, there's no need to be there. But yes, in general, with these ontological, metaphysical paradoxes that that we must understand as our awakening takes place, is that we want to balance both sides of the paradox in our perception by understanding both sides. And that is the most effective way to proceed, is by understanding both sides of the paradox, that there's truth and falseness in all things, depending on what perspective you're taking, and then proceed that way. And so I put extra emphasis on the fact that free will does not exist, because most people would be most effectively helped by hearing that message rather than the opposite message, that free will does exist. Because we've already been disproportionately fed that message, and we disproportionately believe in that message over the other, that free will does not exist. So I am simply bringing balance to the paradox within the collective consciousness by speaking the truth that free will does not exist. However, if it was the other way around, and everyone believed free will didn't exist, and whenever you see somebody who's like that is more unbalanced toward that end, they will just gaslight you and gaslight themselves and say all kinds of ridiculous nonsense. They'll be using spiritual truths to gaslight you and them, and use spiritual truths as excuses for poor behavior and irresponsible behavior. And that's not good. It's not good for anybody. And if it was like that, I would be saying the other thing. I would be debunking no free will. You see? So, I think that's it. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Leave any thoughts, ideas, comments, questions down below. And like, subscribe. Peace.